Welcome to the Okavango Delta. You all know who I am. Who you may not know is this lovely gentleman sitting in front of me. His name is Baden. And together we are going to be exploring the area around andBeyond Xaranna Okavango Delta camp.
We are very happy for you to join us in this trip to explore the Xaranna area, to see what Xaranna have for us. For sure, Xaranna is one of the best areas that you will enjoy because it's quite unique. You'll see lots of things.
Well, on that note, let's head out and see what stories we can find out here in the Okavango Delta. Well, it is very early morning here in the Okavango Delta. We are here as the sun is rising over this waterhole, and there are so many hippos. Take a look at this.
Sunrise! If this is how every day in Botswana starts, I'm certainly not going to be complaining.
If you look closely at these hippos, can you see how they're all resting their heads on top of one another? They're almost packed in like you would imagine sardines in a tin can. And it's because there's not really much space. Where they are now, that's the deepest part of this waterhole. And it's the part where they can remain the most submerged, especially throughout the heat of the day. So they all want to get that prime spot. At the moment, it is actually part of the dry season here in the Okavango Delta, and this is one of the only waterholes left. And so that's why these hippos are actually congregating here. Look at this little hippo trying to see what we are. There's two of them actually watching us, lifting their noses into the air, just trying to catch a scent on the wind. Oh, look, some zebra have come to join us. But it looks like these zebra are just grazing on the edge. The one looked like it wanted to come down to the water, but it looks a little bit nervous. You might also find that some of these puddles become hosts to things like crocodiles as well, that are also seeking refuge from the heat during the day. And so those zebra are a little bit nervous to come down and drink, but they also need water. Oh, it looks like these zebra are finally plucking up the courage to come down to the water, but look at how they're staring at the hippos. And you can see how dry it is. Look at all the dust that they're kicking up with their hooves. No, maybe not. The one zebra in the front does not look convinced. Oh, look how beautiful that dust is in the light coming from the sun rising. Do you see how they kept jumping around? They're a little bit skittish. You might also find that because there's not so much water in the delta, not only animals like zebra are looking for water, but also things like lion, leopard. I mean, predators also have to drink. They have to survive. And so these zebra, getting a little bit skittish. When they come down to the water, they're also not just scanning in the water for things like crocodiles, but scanning around the edges for predators like lions. What a spectacular start to the day. I cannot get over this light. Look at how beautiful it is. Well, it's very faint in the distance, but there's actually some lions calling in the background. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to leave these hippos be, and let's see maybe if we can find where those lions are calling from. Here in the Delta, sometimes you have to travel quite far, especially in the dry season, to find animals. So while they're giving us a clue, I think let's try and see where they may be. So we heard those lions calling, we're heading in that direction now. We'll see what they're up to. We're not sure if they're male or female. It could be male lions patrolling a territory, it could be female lions, maybe contact calling, looking for males, or maybe looking for the other pride members if they got separated during the night, maybe while they were hunting. So there's a lot of different variations it could be. So the only way we're going to know that is firstly by trying to follow where the calls came from, and secondly looking for tracks, and that's really going to be what we're looking for this morning. So we just had to stop and show you quickly this beautiful little bird. Look at all the blues and the purples. There's even some green on the top of its head, but especially on its chest. Can you see that beautiful purpley pink color? And this is a lilac-breasted roller. It's quite a common bird out here in Botswana, also in South Africa. But you never really get tired of seeing them, especially with those bright, bright colors. Well, there's been no track so far, and it is starting to get quite hot. So the hotter it gets, the more likely these lions are to start getting quieter, but also start heading towards the shade. So we're going to try pick up the pace a little bit and see if we can try and catch up to where we last heard them calling from. But for now, we just have to keep our fingers crossed. Some very exciting news. We found the tracks. Yay! And it looks like they are heading up in the direction we were heading. So at least we know we were on the right track. But lions, however, can walk very, very far, and especially out here in the Delta, They may have to cover some very long distances in order to find prey and to find water. So let's see if we can catch up with them. Barden, it looks like there's quite a lot of zebra around lately. Is there a reason for that, or have you noticed something?
Basically, the whole idea is because of the water which is coming in. That's where you will see most of the zebras coming in, because there's water and the food now is enough for them.
Okay, so they're actually coming into this area looking for water.
Yeah, definitely.
Some very exciting news. So some of the other guides out here have actually found the lions we were looking for, and they're just somewhere on this plain behind us. So we are driving very, very slowly to try and see if we can spot some of the vehicles that are with those lions. Turns out it looks like the lions had actually double backed on their tracks and then headed into the open grassy floodplain. We are now off-roading. We've spotted the vehicle that's following the lions. We're trying to get there as quickly as we can, but obviously when you're off-roading there are lots of holes and potentially some stumps and things in the long grass, so we do have to be very careful as well. We did it! We finally caught up with these lions. And it seems like they've actually moved very far from where we had the tracks and where we first thought we had to go. So it doesn't surprise me that they're now lying in a nice shady patch. Potentially one of the only shady patches out here in the Delta at the moment, or at least where they are. I mean, if you look at the area surrounding them, there's lots of trees in the distance, but the rest of it is pretty much just open grassland. So I think they've literally found the one patch of shade that's close by that can fit all of them under it. These are the lions we were looking for. And it sounds like what happened when the other guide got here was that he actually found the one lioness and then followed her, and she found the rest of the pride. And that's probably why they're sitting quite close to one another as well, because they've been separated throughout the night, maybe from hunting, maybe they got chased by dominant males in the area. There's no real saying how or why they're separated, but now that they're back together, they want to make sure that they keep that bond very close. And so even by just having a tail or a paw touching one another, they're able to let one another know that they're still here and they're still around. Nothing like a good bit of yoga in the morning. Look at how that lioness is putting her leg all the way over the top of her head. And she's really the only one that's alert. She's looking around, she's scanning, and it might be for prey. It could also just be an instinctual thing.
So this pride is one of the pride that we know very well around here. So how do we identify this pride? Is through that year male, because it's that the only pride that has got 1 year male. So this pride normally hangs around by Xaranna camp. So they'll just move around and towards another concession, but they are more into Xaranna concession. That's how we can identify this pride.
Now out here, they don't name the animals for any purpose. So just for the sake of being able to follow these animals and follow their story, we are going to name these guys the Xaranna Pride. And that was Barden's suggestion. Quite appropriate since we're on the Xaranna concession. This lioness is also grooming quite a lot, so it might be an indication she's ready to get up and move. If you look at her head, she's the only one that's really in the sunshine. And at the moment out here, the sun's very warm, but the wind is quite cool, the shade is quite cool. So I'm sure she's going to want to try and get towards the shade. There we go. And flop. And the reason being is because out here, especially at this time of year, it can reach temperatures up to about 35 degrees Celsius. So it gets pretty hot. And so she wants to keep as cool as possible, trying to cool her body temperature down now already so that when it hits peak heat in the middle of the day, she's able to keep her body temperature constant and not overheat. So you can just see the ear of the young male twitching ever so slightly. He's also getting into the sunshine, but I think for now he's not in the sun enough to move around too much. However, he is listening quite intently. There's a lot of long grass around here, so that's going to make a lot of noise, and especially with the wind picking up. And so just to make sure that there's nothing sneaking up on them or there's no prey moving around in the area close by to them. Oh, looks like these lions all got a little bit spooked. They've all put their heads up now. And look at how they're all looking in different directions. Can you see the young males looking over to the right, the lionesses are looking over to the left. But now that they've figured out nothing really to be afraid of, they're all starting to flop back over and go back to sleep. So Baden and I were just discussing maybe why these lions would have split away. As I mentioned earlier, they were a part of a pride called the Kudum Pride, and now they've since broken away. And he was telling me that there used to be a pride of about between 23 and 24 lions, and out here in the Delta, it's not always possible to catch big prey like buffalo, or even out here there's some prides that focus on things like hippos and elephants, especially in the dry season. So you might find that they couldn't sustain themselves being as many lions as they were, and so they ended up breaking off and breaking away so that they could support each other a little bit better. Hence the creation of the Xaranna Pride. Look at the belly on that lioness. I mean, she's so full. You can actually see her belly rising when she breathes.
Probably she had something last night.
You think maybe last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even that one, if you can look to that one, the belly is full also.
And it actually looks like she's one of the lions that looks the most full. So you'll probably find she's one of the more dominant members of this particular pride. And so she probably got a lot more of whatever they managed to catch during the night. But it does seem like with these round bellies, these lions are not interested in moving around at all, especially while they've got this patch of shade. So I think we're going to join them in escaping the heat of the Okavango Delta and leave them here to rest in the shade, and we're going to start heading back towards camp. Well, we truly had a fantastic day today with those hippos to start it all off, and then of course the Xaranna pride, and I couldn't be more excited for what else this place has in store for us.